the thing that we're going to talk about, I feel like is actually like really, really counterintuitive. And I feel like most people almost try to do the opposite of this in many ways. And we have certainly tried it that way and it didn't work as well. So now we do it this way, which is basically this idea of letting your team be the initiation point for almost everything and the starting point for almost everything, and you being the person that just takes it across the edge at the end. I feel like almost all entrepreneurs start by trying to do the opposite. They need to like initiate, to start the content, to make the plan, to do the thing, and then they try to pass it off to team. And what happens is they become a bottleneck 9 times out of 10, and everything moves slower, and they feel really unsupported by team because their team is literally waiting on them all the time, right? And so there's this constant frustration. Hold on, I just blinked. We didn't talk about the bundle. So Megan and I have I promise I'll circle back all over the place today. Megan and I have a content and repurposing bundle that is amazing. It is like one of my favorite things we have ever created. And it is so useful for doing a lot of what we're going to talk about today in terms of like letting your team be the starting point for things. So if you want that, as a thank you for coming live, you guys know I'm really into this right now. We would like to give it to you. So any comment counts. Like you don't have to say like, I want it or anything like that. But if you comment on the live today, you're entered to win. We'll announce tomorrow who wins it. If you are like, thank you so much, but I don't need that, great. We will give it to someone else, or you can tell us who you would like us to give it to. But it's just a thank you for being here. And it's also really, really good. So, okay. I want to say that before I forgot, but basically what happens is when you become the bottleneck, you feel really unsupported by teams. So that is like the number one stress point I see when a lot of clients come to me, is that they feel like their team is not being leveraged really well. They feel like they're paying people for a lot of things without things moving forward. And 9 times out of 10, that's the reason. Do you agree with that, Megan?
Totally. Well, and I think that it's like one of the things that I find to be the biggest difference maker in team and feeling really supported by your team is when you're able to not just pass tasks, but also pass like part of the process, the ownership, the space that you're holding for different things. And I think part of that comes from what we're talking about here, which is like letting your team be in the initiation and be in the process a little bit more, rather than feeling like you need to hold all of that space and then just pass them some of the details to execute on. And I think that like when you can really bring them into that, that's when you start to be able to like pass some of like, you're not holding all of it. They're also taking more ownership and holding a space for you as well.
Exactly. Katie said, is that the content planning party? I'm planning to get it. So it has content planning party as part of it, but there's more to it. There's like a workshop Megan and I did on like how to put that into a system, how to use it with your team, and how to repurpose. So it has content planning party, but it has a bunch of other steps after that. So it would be very good for you. So I think what a lot of people do is go one way or the other. So one way that we just talked about is like, they feel like they have to do all of the initiation and team is waiting on them, or they do this where they want team to initiate, but then they expect it to come to them 100% right. And then they're super frustrated with that too. And so we take like a more middle ground approach, which is like, I like things to come to me about 80%. We have an amazing team, so often they come to me more than 80%. But like my expectation is never like, if I'm not initiating, I'm never expecting it to come to me 100%. But it is so much easier for me to take something 80 to 100 than for me to be the one taking something 0 to 80, right? So it saves a massive amount of time. It saves a massive amount of stress and pressure. And it really provides a great feedback loop for training team as well, right? So in terms of like, if I get something at 80%, I'll make some changes and document those changes. And then they can learn from, oh, here were the changes to the things we did. Okay, this is a great learning point. And it feeds itself versus like again, when it's like, now I'm pissed that it didn't come to me right. So I'm just like not even thinking about it as a training opportunity, or I did so much of it that like I have already owned most of it. And so like someone else is the one taking it across the fence. What do you think about that from a team perspective, Megan, and like how that process feels for team?
I mean, I think that like one of the things there is almost like sometimes I think that the expectations are confused on the team end. Like sometimes it's like, okay, if I have some, like if I'm the team member and my client is saying like, I just want you to run with this. And then I do, and I take it to 80%, and then like, it's not right. And there's like, you know, that this was a mistake and these are problems and blah, blah, blah. And I almost don't have, like, if I'm not feeling that permission to be like, hey, it doesn't have to be perfect, just get it to here. I'm going to make edits. That's why we do this review process. Like, it's almost like being clear on the expectations makes it so that like a lot of that frustration on both ends can kind of start to diminish, right? Like you're not feeling like on the team end, oh my gosh, well, I did all this stuff and it was still wrong. It wasn't perfect and stuff like that. And so like with like everyone on our team, we always try to say like, hey, nothing that you're doing needs to be perfect. Like we are going to be getting feedback. We've talked about this in several other live streams that we always give feedback early and often. And that's just part of our process. And our team knows that. And our team knows that like, that's not like, we're not expecting them to do 100%. Like that's just part of what, like how they're learning and how they're going to continue to like get even better at everything. And even if they've been with the business for 5+ years, like it doesn't need, like, I never feel like I need to take something to 100%, like from the get-go. Right.
Exactly. And you often do, but without the pressure there, that's what matters. Right.
Exactly. It's like almost like the expectation being like, I just want 80%, like almost in a way gets the deliverable like to like 90 to 100 more frequently than if you were like, I need it to be to 100%. Right.
Totally. I think so. And like what you said too about that phrasing of like, I just want you to run with this. Like we totally have said that to team members, and a lovely one is here. Hi, Katie. Thank you for being here. But it's really hard to say to someone, I just want you to run with this. And what the subtext of that is I need you to get it to me perfect. Like the reason I want you to run with this is because I can't figure this part out right now. But as soon as you run with it, like pass the baton to me and I can take it over the finish line. And that's what I feel like feels like a team effort. But when it's like, run with this subtext, get it to me perfect, it's so stressful for both parties. Like I think it's even really stressful for the business owner too, because you're like just kind of like hoping that they can read your mind or something, which of course they can't, right?
Or it's something where like as the business owner, you almost feel bad giving feedback, or you almost feel like you shouldn't tell them if something like wasn't how you wanted or something like that. It's like, if you set the expectation on both ends that we're looking for 80%, not 100, then it almost makes it feel better to give that feedback, because you're not feeling like, oh, well, I asked them to just run with it. And so I feel like I shouldn't critique what they did and stuff. And so you almost like just keep it to yourself, which I just don't think is useful for the business or like the team member. Like it kind of steals an opportunity for them to learn and just kind of leaves everybody feeling a little bit frustrated about it.
Yes. Molly, you're so welcome. Molly said that she really appreciates us talking about this because this has been such a big internal struggle for her. Yeah, totally. I feel like it's so important for us to talk about this because I feel like sometimes we don't even realize we could, like, just like how I was joking earlier about how I like forgot that I could just change a live stream time. I feel like sometimes we're like, wait, because sometimes when I share this with clients, they're like, wait, what? I could have them run with something and then I could just fix it at the end. right? So sometimes it's nice to like have these conversations because it's like, so we don't even like, it's right in front of our faces, but we don't even see that as an option. Hey, Claire, thank you for being here. Julie says giving them a framework to navigate it helps them feel empowered and confident. Exactly. You want to feel like you're doing your job really well. So when we're like, the frame is like, get it to this amount and they feel really confident in that, that's such a positive experience for all of us, where if it feels like we're not being clear or not providing that, and then we're giving feedback, like Megan said, I think it feels like a really negative experience in a lot of ways, you know? Hi, Fiona. Thank you for being here too. Yeah, so another piece of this that I think is really helpful too, like that I'll just talk about kind of from like my angle, is that I think it helps me do way better work. Like I'm way more able to say like here's an example. So like our team writes our podcast
Show notes.
Show notes. Thank you. Our podcast show notes every week. I guarantee if that was on me every week, they would be not that great because I would just be trying to like speed through them to get them done. But when they come to me done and I can take 15, 10 minutes, whatever, to read through them, I'm actually making like my mark on it and making it feel even better. Like the joint effort is what makes them so good. Whereas like if I just did them, I guarantee you like they would be half as good as what we're both able to do together because I'm able to come to it from a different perspective and things. So I think that's really important to see too, where I feel like sometimes when we outsource a task, like our brain goes all or nothing. We feel like it has to be 0% outsourced or 100% outsourced. And in my experience, like I have the best results when I have that combination of both, where like I can like put that like icing on the cake, which makes it better. And I don't feel like that's a bad use of like delegation or money or any of those things. I feel like the 10 minutes it takes me to add on top is worth it every time, you know?
Totally. And I think it could be something like kind of tying it back to the decision-making piece of things. Like, I feel like you can kind of like, for example, if you are, I'm trying to think of an example we've done recently, but I can't. But if you're like, hey, I really want to, you know, send a client this type of gift, can you do some research, like passing to your team, do some research, come up with some options. Here are a couple parameters. And then they run with that and go find some options. Say like, hey, I will like, how about flowers? How about this box? Like whatever. And then you can kind of look at that and either be like, oh, this is a good idea, but not quite that. Like, let's look at these other options. Or like, cool, this is the one I want to roll with, where you're just kind of doing the final sign off rather than like feeling like it needs to be on you to come up with all of the details or all of the like, okay, let's get a spa treatment at this spa and do this and like go through this service or whatever, right? Like,
yes,
like letting your team really step in and support you in some of the like, just like kind of like the starting line, right? And kind of like getting it to a certain point where then it's just almost easier for you to, like to interpret in a way and easier to just like make a snap decision rather than feeling like you're like navigating like 500 different options or something like that.
Exactly. Diana just said it's the joint effort. And that's exactly what you're saying here too, where it's like, it would take me way more like, even just like emotional energy, I think is a good way to put it, to think about like, oh, but this person, like, would I want to get them this or this or this or this for a team member? Like they're happy to go do that research without the like charge behind it. Right. But the joint effort of like, they did that. And then I get to like put my stamp on it of like, oh, she would love flowers or whatever.
Right. Exactly.
Is where it gets like so special. So I think just like being able to see that. And I think that conversation just doesn't happen in our space very often. Like it's such a conversation of like, get it all off your plate or delegate it all. And then we, you know, don't have someone that literally has a carbon copy of our brain. And so then we're like really consistently frustrated with that. And then team is consistently frustrated with us because we're not giving the feedback. And so then what we default to sometimes is, well, I have to give such clear feedback on the front end that I have to start every project. And that's not it. You just have to be willing to take it over the finish line at the end. And again, the more you do it, the less you have to, like now when I like, add to our podcast show notes or whatever, it's like so minimal, but it's still like worth it for me to do that every time. And so I think just like seeing it as that, like you might not be able to fully outsource yourself out of every single thing in your business, and that's okay. But where it gets good is when you're creating that team joint effort, like again, passing the baton, someone running it across the finish line. Like, in my opinion, that's where it feels really good. That's when you get the best results. And that's when I think you also just have like appropriate expectations. Like, I think sometimes the Megan, I'm sure you could rant on this, but we'll give you a soapbox in a second. But I think sometimes the expectation of team members in our industry is just fucking wild, right? It's like, I expect someone to like come in and like take this all over, be a carbon copy of my brain, do it exactly how I would and whatever. And it's like, I think that just leaves most people disappointed in their business and feeling really unsupported,
And it just feels shitty on the support end, right? Like, because it's, especially if a team member is putting in a lot of effort and then coming up against a lot of like frustration from the business owner side, like that's really disempowering. It's like, cool, but like I was putting in a lot. And so like, I think that just taking some of that pressure off both ends, like giving the business owner permission to not need to like provide too much, but also not need to be completely hands off. Cause I feel like a lot of times when we're too hands off, it starts to like we remove our energy from it a little bit too much. And then you feel like disconnected from whatever it is, like from your content, from your marketing, from your clients, like whatever that is. And so then it's like, you start to feel that. And yes. I think that then like this kind of like sharing the like tasks and projects and stuff in this sense allows you to still stay connected and still be in various areas of your business while your team is also feeling like they're not expected to do all of it and hold all the space and know all the things and be perfect and like have everything like in their realm, right?
Yeah. And I think what's so nice about that too is that what it reminded me of as well that you said, I think in there at some point, was just this idea that I feel so much more like energetically connected to it. Like, I love reading our podcast show notes because I mean, if you think about the timeline, I probably recorded that podcast like 2 or 3 months ago, right? So what a loss it would be for me to like not even like have been energetically connected to that and have it going out into the world. And I promise it wouldn't perform as well. Like, I'm positive that like your energy in your business matters. And so like, this is just like such a silly example, but like even to this day, I post in this Facebook group every day because it's so important to me to feel that connection to this, as opposed to it being so outsourced that I'm not even jazzed about it, or to like, what I like, again, we repurpose a ton of content and all of that. So it's not like we don't have like great automations and systems there, but like, I don't want to be talking to someone and then be like, wow, that piece of content you put out today really spoke to me. And I'm like, fuck if I know. Like, I want to feel connected to that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. You're like, which piece of content?
Yeah.
Could you send me a link?
Yeah. Can you link that for me? That would be so great. Thank you. Jackie said that totally just happened with me. I started the 2 hours at the coffee shop this AM to get back in relationship with my business. Oh, I love it. I love that so much. I'm telling you, 2 hours at a coffee shop can be world changing for your business. But yeah, it's like, it's kind of like this little guy here, right? What you focus on expands. Like, when you're putting that effort into your business and you're putting that like touch on it every day, like, I really do think that that makes such a difference. But you don't have to be putting the 80% touch. You can be putting the 10 to 20%. And so it feels juicy and connected without taking up, the majority of your time. The one other thing I want to talk about on this concept, that I also feel like is like very mind blowing. And Megan's going to be like, this is so silly. But like how you help me do that, like in terms of like the practical pieces of like, you'll assign me a to-do, you'll give me a deadline, things like that, I think are really helpful to think about too. I actually said to one of my clients recently, like, well, your OBM could just give you a to-do on that. And she was like, come again? So I feel like that's something we want to talk about more is like, okay, so what does it look like for us to put this into process where when I say 80%, I don't even mean that like now I have to go figure out where to post it, but like, let's just talk about what that process looks like.
Well, I think that like, so my perspective on it too is almost like as the OBM or COO, like I almost need permission to then assign. Like I know that we've talked about this before,
Yes.
where like sometimes it's almost like I think that the business owner just almost needs to just say like, hey, I know that like you're going to be taking this to 80%. So then once it's ready, like send it to me and blah, blah, blah. And like creating a process around that. But like, I view my job around that is almost like, how can I like get it to Lacey in the easiest way possible? How can I make it as easy as possible for her to review X, Y, and Z? How can I like make sure that I and team are getting what we need from Lacey? Like when we need it.
Yeah.
assigning to do's and assigning due dates and all of that. And I think like sometimes from the support role, it almost feels like you almost feel bad, like asking your clients like, hey, can you get me that thing that you promised me to get? Like, we're really waiting on you. You're like nudge, nudge. Right. And it's like, I feel like as long as you really tell your team, like, listen, I know I'm going to be the bottleneck, but like that this is what I need you to help me with because I need you to help me prioritize and then commit to those things. Like listen to your team when they're asking you to get you something by a certain date. Or if you don't understand that that's going to be affecting other things and in the process, right? Or other timelines and stuff like that. I feel like that just like the expectations around that can often create frustrations on both ends. And I think that like just giving your team the permission to like tell you what to do sometimes and be like, this is okay. This is what I want. This is really useful for me. Then I think like the support team can really step up and be like, cool, here's how we're going to like, here's when I need this and stuff like that. But yeah, I feel like just starting to have that conversation with your team around like, how can I help you and how can you send me more tasks, more due dates, whatever, so that we can keep things on track.
Yeah, totally. Diana says coffee shop sessions are the best. I totally agree. Katie loves to-do lists. Yes. So do we. That is why we appreciate you. So I think what's so important about what Megan just said too, is like my assumption of a due date would probably always be wrong, if that makes sense. So it's like, if she assigned me a to-do that was like review podcast show notes, well, like in my head, they're due the day the podcast comes out. Do you know what I mean? Like when in reality, what Megan has to do is take the things that I reviewed, like make sure those are in the right places, getting posted at the right time, et cetera, et cetera. So she might actually want those to be due 4 days before the podcast comes out. So it's just remembering that like, as the business owner, you are going to have probably very different expectations of what you think a due date is versus what would actually be most useful and feasible for your team to have. So being willing to ask them for that and kind of like put that onus on them of like, what would be best for you? Like, tell me like when it would be best for you to have that by. That's really helpful. And I think we've joked on this on here a lot, but Megan will always give me a well in advance due date of when she actually needs it by, but that's super helpful for me because we're never scrambling. I'm never like, like, oh my God, what if I don't get it done today? I always know that there's like a tiny bit of buffer if I got sick or something like that. And her and team aren't scrambling because I'm getting them shit last minute all the time that I don't even realize is last minute. So yeah, I think it's just like really empowering on both ends. And I think like, how you were saying it can feel weird as the support person to be like, did you get us this? I think it can feel weird as the business owner sometimes too, to be like, is that okay? Like, is it fine if it's Friday? Is it not fine if it's Friday? So it just removes all of that weirdness to just be like, literally, I need it Friday. And one of the rules I personally have for myself in my business is like, if Megan gives me a to-do and I know it's like an important deadline, like every now and then she'll give me a to-do that's basically like, hey, I put a to-do on this, but we're totally flexible here. And then I'll push that shit a lot. But I actually finished one yesterday that she gave me, I think it was August 6th, and was like totally flexible on the due date. And I was like, well, I'm going to take you seriously on that. Yeah.
Which is great because like it was flexible, but and I could have come back and been like, so this year sometime, I don't know.
But if there is a due date that's not her saying this is flexible, like I would have to be really ill or something would really have to be going on for me not to meet that. Like I make that such a high priority in terms of like, this is important to you. Like let's create partnership on that, because vice versa, if I gave Megan a to do and she just blew that off, like that would be like super upsetting to me. And so just realizing that rolls down. So where I think sometimes team and business owner can get frustrated is when you say to your team, I would love it if you started giving me to-dos and deadlines, and then you fucking blow those off all the time. Your team is going to get so frustrated with you because they're going to be like, well, you just asked for to-dos and deadlines, and then you're following approximately one a month or something like that, right? So that's just like a little reminder there too, where like absolutely go to your team and be like, hey, I want a process where like you guys get it to 80%, then you assign me a to-do, you give me a deadline, I will always get it done by that date and get it back to you, and then you guys can run with it. But then like making sure you show up for your piece of that, right?
100%. And I think that a lot of it too is like making sure that you're finding a system together of like communicating in a way that is easy on both ends, right? Where it's not like their team's assigning you a to-do in some place that you never check or you don't get notifications or something like that. Like really making sure that you're setting up a process around it that makes sense for both people, or it's not getting lost or something like that. I was going to say something else around that, but I don't remember. I'll come back.
Just like how it would be frustrating if like that was getting blown off all the time, or
well, I was going to say just like how you were talking about with a podcast show notes, for example, like often there are so many other things that are dependent or waiting on one thing. So like, I think that sometimes that can be really frustrating on the team end where like, if I don't get this thing, like I'm just waiting on this thing and you almost can't move on with like 5 other things until this one thing happens. So the more that you can like stick to deadlines, stick to schedules, that kind of thing, like it just makes it easier, because especially if it's like a multi-step process, like a podcast or something where there are a lot of different pieces involved, the more there is that would need to have to shift in order to like, just because of one due date, everything else needs to shift. Right. So I think that it just allows everybody to kind of stick within like their deadlines and workflow and all of that too.
You do such a good job of this on our team, because like I've come to Megan a few times for different things and been like, what would it look like if I decided not to do this today or something like that? And you're so good at being like, well, here are all the domino pieces that would affect if you really can't do it today, like let me know and we'll get all of these things in place. But for context for you, like here's what that means for like 5 other people. And that has been so helpful to me as a business owner, because you've never made me like feel bad about it, but you've given me enough context to be like, do I really want to not do it that bad that I want 5 dominoes to topple over after that? You know what I mean? And so I feel like that's something I'm so appreciative of. And then I think sometimes the more we delegate, the less eyesight we have on it. So having team that's willing to kind of communicate that to you is really helpful too, where like we sometimes forget that like there are so many moving pieces. You know what I mean?
Totally. And I think that like, you know, it's so useful to be able to talk that out with team, and for team to be able to be like, we are 100% willing to do whatever and to change whatever, but here's what we need. And here's, you know, what that looks like and what that affects and yada, yada, and potentially like how many hours or what that costs or something like that. So it's like, okay, maybe I should just suck it up and do this thing. Or
I remember
maybe
the
like
most recent time we had this conversation, I was like, oh, fuck that. I'll just do it. Like, right.
You're like, no, I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where that 80% 20% thing comes in, because I'm looking at just the 20%. And so sometimes I don't have the big picture on that. And so being able to ask for that context and being willing to see that, like, again, it's all a joint effort. It's not just like Lacey decides not to do something today. It's like, if Lacey decides not to do something today, then, you know, 4 other tasks or people or processes are potentially impacted by that. Now, I think business owners can hate this. I think it can feel like it takes away your freedom or makes you feel trapped, or like, you know, makes you feel like, oh, I don't want that much responsibility. However, what I will say is that as your business grows, you almost need that level of responsibility so that you can still make shit happen and move things forward. Because if not, you always have other things. Like, I always have a client message to answer. Like, I always have another person I could follow up with, or an email I could send, or another post to engage with, or whatever. And so if I didn't have some of that responsibility there, I just know my business wouldn't be growing like it could be growing. So as much as you can feel tension there, like, it's because of that tension sometimes that you actually get shit done and are able to move it forward. So for me, I've actually found that to be really useful, because I think I've talked about this too, but actually my client Julie talks about this all the time too, but like, I'm just like a really naturally kind of a more lazy person, honestly. Like, if I have like a Saturday or something, I'm not like, I want to clean the house and I want to go shopping and I want to, I'm like, I'll just mostly be on the couch. Like, that's just more my nature. And so if I don't have some of those other pressure points to and I don't mean pressure in like this negative way, because you guys know I talk about that all the time too, but I mean pressure in the like, people are waiting for me, things are counting on me. Like, that really is what helps me move my business forward, honestly. Like, if I had a business where I didn't have that, I just know it wouldn't be as far along as it could be, like, hands down.
I mean, same. Even like, I noticed that even just like in projects, like if you, I mean, same thing where like, if you send me a project and I'm working on it and you're like, no rush, I'm like, okay. And there's like, it might take months.
Yep.
And then because there's always something else, there's always other stuff that comes up. There's always, you know, a million other things that get your attention. And so you almost need to put like deadlines, timelines, structure around it. Even if the deadline, like the project that you recently did, even if the deadline gets pushed a few times, at least having that where you know that you're blocking it out, you know that it's top of mind, and you know that you're making space for it. And then prioritizing around that. But I just feel like it's so useful, like to have something that's kind of like depending on you finishing that thing, right?
It really is. I think about that so often in my business. Like, I think that's even one of the reasons why I feel so drawn to and built for one-on-one. Because like, I have to be there at a specific time and I will always show up for that. But if I had like, so one of the project that we keep joking about was like re-record a bunch of videos. I mean, it is just so fucking hard for me to make myself do shit like that. I can't even begin to tell you how much I have to like build like the momentum and energy behind that to do it. So I feel like that's why some of these things are easier for me, because we have those things set up. So if you might not have that same personality, you might be very, very self-motivated. Congratulations. But if you are not always, I guess I'm self-motivated, but I'm not like, yeah, it just depends on the task. But like, I think it is so helpful to have these things in place where it's like, you know, someone's got it to 80%. So you kind of have to be the one to run it across the finish line. You know, 3 people on your team are waiting for you to get this thing done. You know, this deadline is Friday. Like, those things are just so useful to actually move your business forward. And I think that it is singularly one of the reasons why this business moves forward all the time. And so I think it's just so important for us to talk about things like that. And I think sometimes we don't even realize that, but it's like I was saying earlier, that 5 p.m. on a Monday thing, it's gotten so programmed in that I'm just like, that's what I'm supposed to do. And I show up for it that I forgot to even be like, but I could do 1 p.m. But that context helps me so much. Like, I'm not like, oh my God, I can't believe I have to show up this week. I'm just, it's a deadline. It's a thing on my calendar and I do it. Right.
Yeah.
But also, team has already sent an email that I'm going to be showing up and doing this. Like, team has already made a post in the group that I'm going to be showing up and doing this. So again, it's like they're taking it to a point and then I have to show up and do the thing. But like, they've like, what is that in volleyball? Like, they've like set me up.
It's a set, right?
Yes, okay, good.
It's literally
literally what it's called. They've set me up to do that. So if you can find and build that in with your team where you don't have to be the bottleneck, but they're constantly setting you up to win, basically setting you up to get that thing done that would have otherwise taken you a long time, setting you up to like take that over the finish line. Like, that, in my opinion, is where your business grows exponentially. Like, really kind of cool. Big fan. Diana says, I'm with you. It would be so hard to re-record videos. Oh my God. As evidenced by August 6th to September 12th. We did it. Oh my God, I was so proud of myself yesterday when I did that. I was like, oh, great job, you. Okay, so I think that's it. Let's maybe just remember, if you comment, you're entered to win the content bundle, content planning party, a workshop Megan and I did on content repurposing, and then Megan's like amazing like spreadsheet and templates that we use to do that. I seriously think it's, can I say this? I will say this. I think this is true. I think it's like maybe one of the most valuable like DIY products, or if not the most valuable DIY product we have in the business, because it is what lets you start leveraging team in new ways. It's what lets you start leveraging your time in new ways. Like, whenever someone buys that and I send them a video to thank them for buying, like, that's what I'm always saying. Like, I'm just so excited for you to get to leverage this in a new way. So it's amazing. Megan also has templates on her website. I say this every month, which is the prettiest website I've ever seen. I'm unapologetically jealous of how beautiful Megan's website is. But you have a content one, right?
I do. Yeah. It's a little bit different than what is included in the content bundle. So my template on Whitespace is more around like a content inventory a little bit more. So it's a little bit, and honestly, we use both in Lit Up Life. So we have them, the content, the templates that's in the bundle that we're giving away today is more geared toward like planning and repurposing and all of that.
And you might not need all of that. You might just need like, am I saving it somewhere so that eventually my team, once I build it, could repurpose it. So it's like, if you're at a certain point, the bundle's it. If you're not like ready to start that, you might just want to get Megan's template.
Yeah.
Lindsay says she's obsessed with your templates.
Oh, thanks.
That makes my heart so happy. And Katie says, will you link it in case I don't win? Yes, we will definitely. Yes, Megan's templates are amazing. She also has 2 podcast ones, like for podcast launching, and then for just like podcast maintenance, and as well as like a hiring one. So good. I just don't even with clients anymore. I'm just like, just grab Megan's template. Don't even ask me. No, I'm kidding. But seriously, the hiring one is so, so helpful. So whether you're starting a podcast, hiring, also, while we're on this topic, Megan doesn't know I'm going to say this, but do you guys have ideas for other templates you would like to see Megan create? Because like we were talking about earlier, she gets very motivated by that. But if she had to think of a template to create next week, she'd be like, fuck it, I don't know. But if someone on here is like, Megan, I am desperate for you to create me this template, she will.
It'd be done. Yeah.
It really will, right? Molly's going to go stalk your website. Yes, Molly, tell me how much you're obsessed with it, because you will be. I'm so obsessed with it. Also, if you want Megan's web design person, let us know that too. But yeah, so check those out. If you guys have ideas. Oh, Katie wants the podcast one. That would be really good for you. Yeah. Both of them are really good, but start with the launch one, I think, right?
Yeah.
Is that the one I'm in?
Yeah.
I have like a little thing in there too. Yeah, if you have ideas for Megan, we would be so excited about that.
I would love it.
And it would probably, again, be done right away. This is the power of someone else taking it to a certain point and then you getting to run it across the finish line. Amazing. I love you. I'm so appreciative of you. You truly are like the best part of our business. I'm so grateful for you. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I love these so much. I'm so glad we do them. And I'm so glad that we're moving. I'm so I'm super excited.
At 1 p.m. We're going to be like even more bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. It's going to be great. Thank you guys for being here. We appreciate you. Happy Monday. We hope you have a great rest of your week and we'll talk to y'all soon.
Bye guys.